Welcome to the first episode of the After Hours Film Society podcast. I'm Sean.
And I'm Ameen.
And yeah, we're really excited to finally start doing this. We've been talking about it for a while, and yeah, we're excited. First episode. Yeah, pretty crazy. So the movie this week is Memento. It's Christopher Nolan's second film after his independent film Following and his first ever feature film.
Right. So Memento is a film about a man with very, very short-term memory loss who is out on a quest to hunt down the man who killed his wife. Now, it's a very simple premise, but I think that the way that Christopher Nolan uses his writing and his filmmaking skills tells the story in a very, very unique way, which I will get into in a little bit. But let's just, get it started. I'll hand it over to you, Sean. What do you think of the movie?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I thought it was really interesting that with the premise, it didn't make it predictable, which you kind of expect with a movie that was playing backwards, that you already knew what was going to happen at the start. But I thought the way they did the ending was really cool, of how, Teddy was the villain, but, it wasn't exactly the type of villain we thought he was, that he didn't technically kill his wife, or so we think, but I just love that he was just that kind of different character. And I like Inception, but it's a lot a lot of it was very confusing, and the characters weren't that interesting. But honestly, I mean, with this, that you don't even really need a second watch as much as a movie like that, or Tenet or Interstellar, for example, any of his more confusing movies.
Of course.
The characters are really strong in this one, and it makes a decent amount of sense.
Yeah. As anyone who's seen a Nolan movie could tell you, Christopher Nolan has an insane obsession with time, space, and just general human experience, I'd say, perception. He has a movie called Inception, so that tells you all you need to know. And with this particular movie, the theme is memories. So I'll talk about the filmmaking in a moment, but right now I just want to talk about the writing. I think the way that he formatted the story is very mathematical. He very much so has the film's scenes themselves play out a bit like a mathematical formula, where each scene has a specific place in the story, both forward and backwards. So as you're watching it, the story's progressing backwards, but there is still a very full character arc that you're witnessing, which then loops around into the in color scenes and the in color scenes, which are playing in reverse order, and the black and white scenes, which are in straight continuity, eventually loop back around into each other. I think that's just very ingenious on his part. And like you said, as you can see with his other movies, he loves writing about human perception, memories, time, space, all three at once, so that's kind of where I would stand on the writing.
And so this was one of the first movies of Guy Pearce, who recently got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for The Brutalist. Carrie Ann Moss from the Matrix movies co-stars with him, and the main antagonist, Teddy, a.k.a. John G. He's played by Joey Pantoliano, who was Ralph in The Sopranos and was also in The Matrix.
He was also in Bad Boys, was he not?
I didn't see Bad Boys.
Okay, because that's where I recognize his face from.
Nice.
I hope it's the same actor. If not, it's going to be really embarrassing. But so that's pretty great, man. Yeah, I think for a director's first official film, that's a pretty great cast.
Mm-hmm. And it's cool because you can kind of see him start having his collaborators. This movie was based on a short story by his writing partner and brother, Jonathan, and this was published the year after. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but the motel clerk in the movie, you'll later see him in Batman Begins as the crooked detective that I think when Batman first shows up.
Yeah, Ramirez's character, right?
No, that was a girl in The Dark Knight, this other guy, bearded guy.
Oh, okay. Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So that's cool, because I think it's cool of directors who rise to fame to have one of their early movies actors show up in their later huge movies.
Yeah.
And I think that's humble. It shows that you appreciate your roots.
Oh yes, of course. I am a huge fan of director-actor duos. I mean, probably the most iconic, Scorsese and De Niro. They go together like bread and butter. Same with Scorsese and De Niro and Tarantino and Samuel Jackson. Those are the two actor director duos that I feel go together like bread and butter. And so it is great seeing directors like sort of still like continue collaborating with their actors, because it shows you how much they really value the people in their films, and it shows you how well they work together, and it translates well, and how well those actors translate their stories on the screen. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So something else I wanted to talk about with Memento, besides the writing, is the style of filmmaking. Now, it's very hard to explain without watching the movie. It's very hard to understand without watching the movie itself. But this movie simulates short-term memory loss, so the audience feels how the main character feels. It feels how Guy Pearce's character feels. And by what I mean is, since the scenes are technically in reverse chronological order, you don't know what just happened. When you step into a scene, you don't know what buildup led to that. You don't know what happened, and neither does the main character, because in the movie he forgets what happened every 5 minutes. So he doesn't know what happened either. And during the scene, he's trying to figure it out and piece it together using his writing, his notes, and just general sense. And that's what the viewer is doing at the same time, because we haven't even seen what happened yet. We don't know what led to him in that position. We don't know what led to him fighting this guy or running from this car. We don't know, and neither does he. And as a result, all the in-color scenes, you are trying to figure it out the same way he is, until it eventually finally all comes together in one solid character arc by the end of the movie, which I think was crazy. And not only that, but alongside the scenes that are in reverse order, you have these black and white interludes which play in normal chronological order, which then eventually sort of fill in the blanks and slowly tie everything together until you, like I said, get to the end of the movie and it all loops back. It's just very genius filmmaking in my opinion.
Yeah, and for only a second movie, it's pretty crazy.
I know, right?
And you told me about this theory that you had about Sammy Jenkins.
Yes, Sammy Jenkins' character. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the movie. So my theory for Sammy Jenkins initially was that the story of Sammy Jenkins, when the man with the memory loss that saw Guy Pearce's character during his time working as an insurance agent, Sammy Jenkins is the character who, sorry, what's the main character's name again?
I forget.
No, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names, but yes, the character of Sammy Jenkins basically killed his own wife because he could not remember giving her insulin shots, and so ends up giving her too much. And so my initial theory was that the story of Sammy Jenkins is actually how the main character's wife really died, is that she did that test on him to try and see if he was faking his memory loss, and he couldn't, instead of remembering it like that, he just sort of projected the story onto someone he knew. However, I think that my new theory is that the Sammy Jenkins story is simply something that the main character made up in his head in order to remind himself why he is keeping himself on a mission, so to speak, why he's giving himself a purpose, even if that purpose has lost its purpose, even if there is no John G. Even if John G. died a long time ago, he's going to continue doing this to himself, because if he doesn't, he's going to end up like Sammy Jenkins, who in reality probably just was some guy he met, some con man he met, like John Gamble said at the end of the movie, probably was just some guy trying to scam the company, who the main characters just sort of took him and made him and sort of made this story out of him in order to justify his own actions, which is also a pretty big theme in this movie, is self-justification. The main character points out how memories lie, or people remember things poorly, so memory is unreliable, but photos aren't, which is ironic because he's literally fooling himself using these and deceiving himself using these photos. But that's my conclusion on the Sammy Jenkins story.
Yeah, very interesting.
Thanks.
Yeah, I guess the movie kind of frames it that way, where you kind of make your own interpretation of it. Nothing's really concrete.
Yeah. When I watched this movie from my honors colloquium class, my professor suggested that John Yammel may have actually been lying at the end of the movie the whole time. Like, who's to say any of what he said about his wife or about Sammy Jenkins was even true? I mean, this guy, we know for a fact that John Yammel is deceiving him. Like, we know that he's using him. So why would he choose to be honest now? I mean, maybe he was just, I think he was telling the truth. I think he was just having this cathartic moment to just let it all out because he knew that the main character wouldn't remember it anyways. But obviously, there's always room for speculation here. I mean, who's to say that he wasn't just telling a story to keep the main character in his grasp, so to speak?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the thing about him, like, well, not Teddy or whatever, John Gamble, but I just want, like, what's kind of interesting is that the actor who like plays Sammy Jenkins, Stephen Tobolowsky, he's kind of one of those actors you see all the time, but you never really know their name.
Yeah.
Like, and not until someone like points it out to you that, oh, he was the principal in The Goldbergs on ABC. Oh, he was the annoying guy in Groundhog Day, or he was in Spaceballs, or whatever it was. The dude's had a prolific career for TV and film.
Right, yeah.
Interesting.
I do notice those kind of actors where they're never really in a big role. They're always in a smaller supporting role, but man, do you see them everywhere. It's like these very prolific actors who just are sort of everywhere in very small places, and you just sort of pick up on it in the back of your mind subtly. But, yeah.
What did you think of Natalie's arc?
I think that Natalie plays a very important role in the story because she is a very small look into how the main character, what the main character has basically become, which is a tool, something that people use and someone that people use and exploit with his condition. And given that he himself is exploiting himself, it's kind of easy to see why they do that, but to focus on Natalie specifically, yes, I think that she's a prime example of how the viewer has no idea what to think until they start piecing it together and seeing what happened in order to figure out what it is that's actually going on and not just what's going on in the main character's head. And I think that the way that Natalie goes from this character who we trust to this character who we realize has been exploiting the main character is just a look into how this main character lives. Like, he has no choice but to trust those around him because he doesn't actually know anything about them, and as a result, he is the perfect person to exploit, to the point where he even exploits himself. He deceives himself, which in his words is something we all do a little bit of, but I think his case is a little extreme. Yeah.
Well, I guess, personally, I don't really think she was exploiting him, but I just thought that she was kind of pretty helpful, I think, and helped him, a little bit in getting over his wife. And, I thought she was kind of badass. And she was kind of like, you kind of see those kind of characters in, a mystery movie, giving him information, early in the beginning where she's giving him the license info for John G. And, she, I don't know if she would technically be a femme fatale because she was still helping him find this guy, and whether he knew it or not, helped him through the trouble with his wife. But yeah, I think Carrie Ann did a great job, and she was badass. I think that I haven't seen the Matrix movies, so I'm looking forward to seeing her and John G there.
Yeah. Yes. No. I think that. Oh, and by the way, the main character's name, I remember now, his name is Leonard.
Yeah, Leonard.
So, I think that I would say that she kind of struck me as a femme fatale when I first watched it. I'm not going to lie. Especially the way that she, gets him to punch her, uses that to go get the guy that she wants to go get, and then, becomes his lover. It's kind of like the staples of the classic Hollywood era femme fatale wrapped into one character who only has about half the movie screen time, which is honestly pretty impressive. She's a very stacked character for the time that she is on screen. And so, that's really all I have to say about her.
Fair, yeah.
Do you have anything else about the film that you wanted to say?
Well, I thought the score was really good. I thought some parts were kind of intense. I liked that, but I also kind of liked the atmosphere it gave it was still, it was whimsical, but not like in a funny way, but in a, just in a way that just kind of, I guess, gave you chills.
Right. I mean, we've been going on and on about the writing, but I think we should also give props to the editing. This movie would not work without superb editing. Like a movie like this, it hangs in the balance of the editing room, and which I think is something they did a great job with. It's sort of like a giant montage. It's like a giant slideshow of events that are playing backwards, So, like I said, that's a great premise, but that could not be pulled off without good editing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, do you have anything else?
Honestly, that's all my thoughts on the movie. So
yeah. Well, thanks so much, guys, for listening.
Yes.
And we don't have the next movie set, but you'll know soon in the next episode.
Yes, so this is the After Hours Film Society podcast signing off. See you in the next episode, and thank you for listening.